Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Hey man, they are destroying Errol Spence and Derrick James right now. Fix my hat, man. They're not playing with Errol Spence and Derrick James. Boxing fans, casuals, some boxers, clowns from other sports, they aren't cutting Errol Spence any slack. Derrick James too, right? My thing is, and this is just my opinion. Oh boy, man. I gotta be careful what I say because I'm not a bandwagonist. But what I will tell you is, I think it's acceptable for there to be some trash talking, you know? I think it's acceptable for, people to want to ridicule and criticize decisions that Errol Spence and Derrick James made, and also the performance of Errol Spence. And I think it's also acceptable and expected for people to scrutinize everything, especially when they felt Errol Spence was going to, for the most part, I hear this phrase being used, dog walk Terence Crawford. And lastly, when you think about people who are frustrated, and the people who really have the really hurtful and vicious things to say, some of those people bet big money on Errol Spence, thinking he was just going to go in there and destroy Terence Crawford. Bottom line, Errol Spence and Derrick James have been labeled by a lot of the boxing community as losers. And I don't think that's really cool. But I'm just a guy who creates content, so we'll have a conversation. Doesn't mean I agree or disagree with him. We're just having a conversation. Now, this whole thing about Derrick James, Errol Spence, Bomac, and Terence Crawford. The Bloods and Crips are real. Like I said before, the Bloods are Team Spence. It's the boxing fans that side with him. The boxing fans that side with Crawford, let's just call them the Crips, because this is basically like what we got, man. Guys banging on Twitter, banging on social media. You can see there was some trash talk over the last 5 years, man. Even Errol Spence, he said a whole lot about Terence Crawford. I think the most famous statement he made was Crawford being light in the ass. And then Crawford said, hey, when I beat him, they're going to have excuses, saying he stayed at 147 too long, X, Y, and Z. And what you're hearing now, there's some excuses coming out. And guys like me, and a lot of you here are subscribed to the channel, especially the new subscribers, we got enough sense to know that Terence Crawford should have been favored in the fight, but to look at that performance and just wonder if maybe there was something more going on with Spence. But my thing is, for people to be destroying them, I would say some of that comes with the territory. When you get Derrick James saying something about a fighter with skills isn't necessarily the fighter who's going to win a fight. It has a lot more to do with athleticism. Now I'm paraphrasing, but that's something that came out of his mouth, right? If he truly believes, right, in a boxing match that athleticism outweighs a sound skill set, well, to that I gotta say, Derrick James must have had a bowl of dumbass for breakfast. If he didn't look at his pupil, Spence, and look at Terence Crawford and say, when it comes to athleticism, that if he doesn't want to say they're evenly matched, well, I put it to you, if he doesn't want to say Terence Crawford is more athletic than Errol Spence, he should at a minimum say they're evenly matched. to come out here and say Errol Spence is more athletic than Terence Crawford, I mean, to that I gotta say, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. Yo, come on. Terence Crawford is athletic. Errol Spence is athletic. Terence Crawford has a sound skill set. Errol Spence has a sound skill set. But there's just more tools in the box than Terence Crawford. Errol Spence is a counterpuncher. Errol Spence is a this. Hey, Errol Spence is a bad boy. There were two number ones battling for undisputed. Crawford's undisputed. Errol Spence is still number one at 147, in my opinion. But he just didn't have more tools in the toolbox. He's never shown to have more tools in the toolbox. He's full steam ahead. When he outboxed Mikey Garcia, come on now. He's still, a lot of that fight went to him and banged. Okay? We understand what he did. Representing the United States and what he did as an amateur. Errol Spence can fight. He can box, but he's not Terence Crawford. Okay? So a lot of people are having a field day with Derrick James and that statement and looking at how the fight played out. Okay? The other thing, they're having a ball with Derrick James. Derrick James out here acting like he was, I get it, man. Talking about they must think I'm a sucker, think I'm a punk. When Terence Crawford and Derrick James kind of got into it and someone on Crawford's team said something to him, people out here running with it, having a field day. Man, wish Derrick James would have swung on Terence Crawford. Man, Derrick James would have got knocked out and Errol Spence would have got knocked out. Would have killed two birds with one stone. Craziness people saying out here on social media. But then again, comes with the territory. Now, this other thing they're raking him about, which is comical, but I'm going to get to the serious stuff, which is comical. It's a whole thing about him and Bomac. And Bomac and Derrick James cussing at each other, insulting each other. Derrick James talking about Cheetos, and Derrick James talking about weight. Derrick James talking about who hasn't missed a meal, and Derrick James is really going off on Bomac. Bomac kept his composure and basically was like, just wait and see what happens in the ring. We're not the ones fighting. Shut the F up. And it's just funny to hear him go back and forth. Anyway, you know how things went in the ring. Bomac kind of got the upper hand, so Bomac's running around here. And he probably had himself about 10, 11 bags of Cheetos since Crawford won the fight. And the other thing that people are looking at is some people, even I thought it was a little bit foul on Errol Spence's part now, right? Now we're talking about Errol Spence. When they were doing that question and answer session, and they asked Crawford about how would you rate Errol Spence's skills and the opponents he faced, they were asking him some questions, and it was almost like they were doing a tale of the tape on each other. Now, when they asked Crawford questions, he gave Errol Spence all the credit, all the respect in the world. How would you rate him? 9 out of 10. Excellent. 8 out of 10. Power. This. He gave Spence a whole lot of respect. But when they were asking Spence, he was very disrespectful towards Crawford. Very disrespectful about Crawford's skill set, the opponents he faced, the punching power, everything. He sounded like he felt Terence Crawford was inferior towards him. Now, I'm going to tell you this, right? When Spence was saying that, I took it as a little bit of entertainment, but I was taken aback because I didn't really get what he was trying to achieve by doing that, right? I just felt that for Errol Spence, I was a little out of his character, but again, I don't know these people. Anyway, you look at what happened. Boy, oh boy. Talk about things not aging well, right? So people out there in the boxing world are having a field day with Spence, with Derrick James. Matter of fact, I did a video saying Derrick James looked like Blank Man. Spence came out looking like the Hamburglar with them black glasses and black and white outfit. While I'm talking, let me see if I can pull that up while I'm talking to you, man. Okay? But there's some other things that happened where people didn't really like. And this is the part where they're destroying them on social media. Right now, it's been going on for a couple of days, and it's probably going to go on for a long time because this whole thing with health issues. Now I'm gonna point something out to you guys. I'm just gonna show you something that I did. Oh, here it is, right here, man. Let me show y'all something real quick. Y'all remember when I did these two videos right here? Yo, Derrick James out here looking like Blank Man. Yo, Errol Spence out here looking like the Hamburglar, right? So I did those videos having fun with it because I thought they both looked crazy at the press conference. So even I had a little fun with it. But this right here is more of the serious part of how they're being destroyed. And the more I peel it back, the more I feel like Errol Spence took the fight for the payday. Now, I probably should stop this video here and do a separate video because some people probably still aren't here watching the video. But I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it, right? Listen, when they were doing the first All Access, right, Spence and Crawford, there was a part in that video where Spence is talking about taking care of his family and fighting, the amount of money he's able to make in a fight. And he's talking about the weight, right? I caught this in All Access. That's what come. I haven't rewatched it. I'm telling you because I remember hearing him talk about it and just having the opportunity to fight for the kind of money he can fight for in one fight, and how he's like, you know what, he'll just basically bite down and make the weight, right? Because he knows he's not always gonna have the opportunity to make that kind of money. When he said that in All Access, I didn't think much of it. It's just like when a month ago people were talking about Errol Spence's brain damage. I noticed he was talking a little different, a little slower, but I didn't really dwell on it. But I did notice, like, yeah, why does he sound like that? Same thing when he said that in that All Access. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? He doesn't want to make the weight, but, you know, he will because of the money he can make. But I remember thinking, you know, it's because I'm a retired military guy. I had to do a fit test every year, fit test. And I was always in shape, but, you know, the last 3 years, you know, just... and having kids and everything, that changed things, man, you know, because I wasn't living in the gym like before I had kids. So I was like, damn, boy, I got 6 months. I tested in 6 months. Then you start mentally preparing yourself. 5 months out, it's like, okay, I got to do it. 4 months out, I was like, all right, maybe you go on walk or whatever. 3 months out, it's like, okay, I got to get cracking. 3 months out, I would start to push and start walking hills, running hills. About 2 weeks in, a month into it, I was full out running, you know, an hour and a half, hills. And I would get down to the day of my fit test, run a mile and a half in like 7 minutes, 30 seconds. Then it got to like 8 minutes and 15, but I would keep it under 9 minutes and 30 seconds, a mile and a half. But what I'm getting at is I can understand Errol Spence's comments about, boy, I don't really want to do this, but I got to. It's the same thing with me. I already don't want to get out here and deal with this fitness crap and running. But at the same time, you know, let me go ahead and do what I got to do, because if not, I run the risk of getting, you know, losing a stripe or having my re-enlistment denied. So at the end, boil down to a money thing. So then you fast forward, right, with Errol Spence. And remember, I'm not the only one who caught that, because everybody's looking at this like right now, like, okay, Errol Spence and his health, damn, the man just sacrificed himself to go get paid, right? So you look at Errol Spence and all the talks about his weight. That has been the talk or the theme since they started just mentioning Errol Spence and Crawford were going to fight at 147. Back with Keith Thurman and Errol Spence fighting the catchweight at 154. Errol Spence has not wanted to make 147. So now you look at what happened. Errol Spence talked about it in All Access, doing it for the money. Then during fight week, he was talking about he didn't want to do it, just wants to fight over. Then he said it again when he and Crawford, right, were at the face-off, and was like, you know, you need to thank me or you don't need to thank me. Bottom line, he said, we're about to make bank, right? I caught that too. But at this point in time, I wasn't really thinking much of it except they're being really friendly to each other. The two of them had a conversation. They're the reason the fight got made. It had a whole lot to do with money because Terence Crawford he wasn't accepting less than $25 million. Remember, Terence Crawford, he had, I don't care what I believe, it's my opinion, right? He had them Saudis about to put up that money for him and Spence, 25 apiece, flat rate. But anyway, Crawford and Spence had a conversation. Somehow the fight gets made. I truly believe had a lot to do with how much money they can make. Why in the world go fight somebody else like a Keith Thurman or someone else? Possibly lose, or even if you win, you don't make the money anywhere near what he'd make fighting Crawford. So when Errol Spence had that face-off after the weigh-in, was like, we about to make bank. And they shook hands and smiled. That, I'm telling you all right now, it's been all about the money. But this is the problem. What happened to him in that ring. And fight fans, casual fans, are destroying him and Derrick James because they're starting to peel the layers back. You know, what you see happening is people are trying to stitch this together. And, you know, you take everything with a little grain of salt. But for me, I know what was said. You know what I'm saying? I know what came out of his mouth. And I do believe Errol Spence. Now, I don't know if he was unhealthy. I don't know if he had brain damage. I mean, some people have already diagnosed the man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that. I do believe that maybe there's a little something going on there, you know, but I don't know that. But I'm open to the conversation. I want to hear more. Like, I'm going to do a video on Dr. 805. We need to dig into Mr. Dr. 805 to find out what's his story. But at the end of the day, Errol Spence took this Crawford fight because of the dough. Simple. And a lot of fans aren't cool with that, especially how he got beat down. They feel that Derrick James knew it. They feel that his family knew it. They feel like promoters knew it. They feel like the doctors knew it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I do find it a little unusual that a doctor got in the ring before the damn fight popped off. Like, you know, something's odd. But the bottom line is, fans are destroying Derrick James and Errol Spence. You know, Derrick James getting trainer of the year. I mean, look, it's just like when I was in the military, man. Let me show y'all something, right? Let me show y'all something. Oh, boy. I'm cover up my name, right? You see this part right here where it says, something of the senior NCO of the year. You see that? Senior NCO of the year, right? Let me put this down right here. Okay. The reason I show you that, right, is because I received, when I was in the military, like 8 of those annual awards. Only one person gets them, you know. But I received like 8 of them, okay? And when you get an award like that, I'm going to say that's the equivalent of Derrick James getting Trainer of the Year, right? I got Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. Now, I've had a lot of other annual awards, but that award is very similar to him. It's like, based on your competition, your peers, you were voted as somebody who can get the job done. For me now, to get selected for something like that, when I'm walking around, people are like, oh, yo, that's the guy who got so-and-so. If I come now and I make a bad decision, right? Yo, I'm held to a different standard. People are going to be like, hey, that's supposed to be your senior NCO of the year. How the hell did he do that? What happened here? You know what I'm saying? This the guy that y'all picked? And he's out here allowing safety of flight issues, allowing all these grounded jets, all these problems? Nah. And that's what happened with Derrick James. You Trainer of the Year. You let your man go in the ring like that, knowing that he was struggling making weight, maybe not 100%. You let your man go in the ring and didn't stop it after like the 4th round, about to let him get beat to death in there, knowing that he's coming off of car accident, retina issues. weight struggles. Come on. They expect you to make the right call. Even if it's the unpopular call, they expect you to be comfortable in your skin, to stand up by yourself against everyone else and be like, we're going to take a knee. I'm going to call knock it off. And that's what Derrick James should have done. Because he didn't. For all those things we talked about in this video, the funny stuff and the not so funny stuff, Derrick James and Errol Spence are getting destroyed. So going forward, I mean, let's see what happens with Spence, with James. See if Spence takes a tune-up. You know, they don't believe in tune-ups. Maybe they're going to believe in tune-ups now. Crawford took a tune-up. He fought a Vanessian. He got raked against the Colts for fighting a Vanessian. I'm sure he's pretty glad he took that damn fight, didn't he? You know, even though I think he still would beat Spence, but taking that fight kept the juices flowing and kept him in fighting spirits up. Errol Spence coming off of a lot of inactivity. He just can't come off of being inactive, weight struggles, whatever else is going on that they won't disclose, into an active killer like Terence Crawford and think that you're going to win. Doesn't work that way. That being said, I don't know. You leave your comments below and let me know if you think it's fair for Derrick James and Errol Spence to get destroyed for losing to Crawford. I don't think it's funny for them to say some of the horrible things they're saying about Errol Spence. The one thing that I've read that bothered me, right? A lot of this stuff is just annoying. It's like, yo, it's like you're dealing with children. Adults acting their shoe size, right? It's just in one ear and out the other, like stupid people. But there's only one thing that I saw posted that I'm talking about now because it bothered me that much. And it's like, I need to stay off Twitter, right? Because Twitter is the most toxic place on the goddamn internet. But the guy who posted that, I don't know him. He doesn't know me. But if I would have known this guy, and he would have said that in front of me, I probably would have made a bad choice. Where he said, he does something like, I don't know who did the more, what damaged Spence more, Terence Crawford or the Ferrari. And I just thought that's ridiculous. That's crazy to say something, you know what I mean? Because I'm be honest with you, I'm concerned about Errol Spence's health, you know? I like Crawford and Spence. I like boxing. I don't have a favorite fighter. My favorite fighters was Zab Judah and Chris Bird. Because when I was out there traveling around all over the place, man, and whenever I found a boxing gym, I go in the boxing gym and train. All over the world, man. I'm right-handed, but I fought southpaw. And I watched Zab Judah. I learned how to throw that lead left uppercut very effectively, watching him. And my defense, watching Chris Bird. I used to watch their videos over and over. See how the shoulders, making themselves the smallest target possible. The footing, bending the knees, how Jab would turn and throw that uppercut. You know, Gervonta Davis throws it the same way. I was like, how does he get it off like that so quick and in between shots and lands? It's got to be comfortable in the pocket, and that's not easy to do. And Chris Bird, for just him being such a small guy, fighting them heavyweights and whipping their butts, his defense. And so that helped me a lot. But as far as Crawford and Spencer, I just like them both because they're fighters, but they're not my favorites. I don't have a favorite right now. Keith Thurman used to be my favorite after the whole Zab Judah and Chris Bird. There was Thurman, but we all know Thurman's a gatekeeper now, a family man. Beautiful thing. But that being said, I don't know, leave your comments below. Let me know if you think it's fair for them to get destroyed the way they're getting destroyed. Now, if some facts come out, like what this doctor said about them knowing Errol Spence wasn't 100%, them knowing he has some serious issues, medical issues, let me tell you something. Then the way they're getting destroyed, they deserve it, because I understand the money, but you can't put when you got kids, right? It's like Miguel Cotto. You remember the face-off with Miguel Cotto and Antonio Margarito? And Margarito's like saying, I'd rather die in the ring, I'd die in the ring. And Cotto's like, what, you die in the ring? You're stupid. He's like, I have a wife, I have children. Why would I want to die in the ring? I don't want to die. That's stupid. So Miguel Cotto's letting them know right there, I don't care what amount of money or what's going on in that ring. If it looks like I'm going to end up getting beat to death or something, stop the fight. I'll live another day to see my children. And no amount of money you can give me will make me ever be okay with dying in the ring, or potentially dying in the ring. And I think if we know if it comes out to be a fact, which we don't know that, we're just having a conversation that Errol Spence knowing he entered this fight, Derrick James knowing he allowed Spence into this fight, knowing he wasn't 100% physically, and the outcome would have been what it was. Huge foul, and they deserve every bit of getting destroyed that they're going to receive across social media, in public, everything. It's just not worth it. When you look at them beautiful kids that Errol Spence has, man, I think with 2 daughters, 1 boy. I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about? What's it all about? The money of the kids. You know what I mean? Especially when you got dough already. So, that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans on 7 continents. Derrick James and Errol Spence out here getting destroyed for losing to Crawford. Some of it you can understand comes with the territory, a little bit of trash talking. And some of the other stuff is more serious. But at the end of the day, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. In the breeze.